Hello, this is a presentation for Group 3. We were assigned tests on Alphabet to analyze each company and calculate the ratios from their annual reports. For Alphabet's Porter's 5 forces, the threat of new entry was a moderate risk. Alphabet's the third most valuable company in the world right now. There is a risk of new companies entering the market because it's pretty inexpensive to create a website and include online advertising in it, but overall it's not a huge threat to the company. For rivalry, it's high risk. We have Apple, which is the most valuable company in the world right now. Facebook's 5th, Microsoft's 4th. Excuse me. There are also emerging startups that could be a threat, but overall it's the big companies that are competing with Alphabet. Supplier bargaining power, that's low risk. Alphabet's a huge company. They have a small business diversity program as well. So a lot of small businesses have Alphabet as its main client. They're getting most of their revenue from the company. So it's not a risk to Alphabet that, they could easily get a different supplier if they needed to. Buyer bargaining power, that's low risk. Online advertising has a lot of internet traffic each minute. People are constantly on their phones, on their computers. So each individual does not really affect the company's revenue that much. So that's why it's low risk. Substitutes, that's a moderate risk to the company. People could use Firefox, Safari as their search engine. Companies could also use different forms of advertisements such as TV and radio, but online advertising is becoming a lot bigger nowadays. People are constantly on their phones and computers, as I said before, so advertising is a lot more effective that way than it used to be. Just to recap Tesla's Porter's 5 forces, new entry was low risk, rivalry medium high, suppliers medium high, buyers medium, and substitutes was high risk. We're not going to go into that too much because we already presented on that. For Alphabet's strategy, there's business diversification. They're creating self-driving cars, artificial intelligent products like thermostats and smoke alarms. They have phones, tablets, all coming out. They still have a high market share in the online advertisement industry, which is important because that's where they are getting most of their revenue. Strengths, dominance in web search, and they're also innovating, which is expanding the company into different markets, which is important because they're so focused, or they're getting most of their revenue on online advertisements. Weaknesses, low position in the cell phone industry. Apple is a huge competitor, dominating the cell phone industry. They also have a dependency on their advertisement income, as I said before. Opportunities, diversification and acquisitions. They've acquired about 118 companies since 2012. Threats, Microsoft, Facebook, Apple. There's also legal pressures coming out because customers are, they found out that their data is being collected to target advertisements better. So that's in the news, and people are becoming more scared about their privacy being invaded for these purposes. There are also a lot of high expenses from research and development. Self-driving cars are not cheap to produce, so that's definitely affecting the company. But yeah, that's their overall strategy. We will now discuss Tesla's strategy.
Tesla has created an ecosystem of products that is revolved around everything electric and luxury. Currently, their products range from cars to their Powerwall and their power production through solar. Their main weakness is that they're a fairly new company, so when it comes to the learning curve of having successful production, they run into a lot of problems. They've actually had a pretty big backlog when it comes to the Powerwall, and getting those delivered to customers have not been very timely. Their biggest opportunity is that they're trying to break into new markets, such as places outside of North America, and they're going to be offering a cheaper variant of the product, as well as the option to lease the vehicles. They don't really have too big of a threat. It's about a medium threat when it comes to their competition, and that's mainly because they're the only ones who are really succeeding when it comes to the trade-off of being a luxury car brand and a fully electric car brand. And that's really
earnings per share analysis starting with Tesla. So from 2013 to 2017, we see a somewhat of a decline, and then we have a bubble in 2016. 2017, we see a sharp decline due to a decrease in net income. Similar pattern follows with the competition in average. we see a bubble or hovering in 2016, and then 2017 a sharp decline.
So going along with Alphabet, we're seeing a very similar pattern here from 2013 to 2016. It's a pretty steady increase. And then in 2017, we see that drop off. So looking at Facebook, which is our competition, they have a similar pattern going on where they were seeing a pretty steady increase. But in 2017, they maintain that trend of increasing instead of dropping off how we did. So here we are looking at the graphs. So in 2017, again, on this graph, you can see that it's a pretty steep decrease after that pretty steady trend line.
And for Tesla, you can see the same thing. We have that bubble, as I was referring to, that raise, and then a sharp decline in 2017. Price to earnings ratio analysis starting with Tesla. So from 2013 to 2017, they are on the path to becoming more profitable. Tesla, in the history of their company, has never been profitable. Looking at GM, the direct competitor, they're also in the same boat for 2017. They float around 2015 and 2016, and then in 2017, they're not profitable. Flipping to Alphabet.
So here we're seeing that same fluctuation between 2013 and 2016, kind of going up and down. And then in 2017, we see the huge spike, so up to 57. So obviously we know that higher number means a more risk. So comparing that to Facebook, we can see that Alphabet is a much more risky stock compared to a Facebook stock. We chalk that up to the stock being overpriced. So Alphabet is priced in the $1,000 range right now, and whereas Facebook is only priced nearly at $140. So here, if you look at the graphs, you can see that this has kind of gone up and down, and then that super big increase in 2017.
And likewise for Tesla, you can see them becoming more profitable as time goes on from 2013 to 2017. All right, stock price analysis for Tesla, 2013 to 2017. As we can see, the stock price in 2013 hit about $200, and it kind of ebbs and flows until 2016, still at $200, or it comes back to $200. And then we see a spike in 2017, and this is largely due to Elon Musk being on a mission to make the company profitable, following a very similar path as the earnings per share analysis. Going to Alphabet.
So here we can see that in 2013, the stock price is just under $600. And then fast forward to 2017, we see that price go up to nearly $1,100. So we can see that's following a similar trend with the price earnings ratio, showing that the Alphabet stock is generally overpriced.
Equity ratio, starting with Tesla. So if we take a look, Tesla and their industry and their direct competition don't follow a similar pattern at all. Tesla starts low in 2015. We see a huge spike. We see a significant decrease in 2016, and then in 2017, it increases again. However, Tesla is using more debt to finance their assets than both their direct competition and the industry average.
Okay, so for Alphabet, we see a much more defined trend. So looking from 2013 all the way to 2017, that has continually decreased over time. So that means that Alphabet is using less and less debt to finance their assets and relying more on equity in that way. So looking at comparison with our competitor Facebook, it's kind of tricky because they don't have any debt that they define is very important. But looking at the technology sector, we're outperforming them year after year.
Current ratio analysis starting with Tesla. GM and Tesla are neck and neck, and GM is the main competition here, but both are underperforming in terms of the industry average. This is not necessarily exactly what we want to see. We want to see higher assets compared to liabilities, but underperforming overall for both GM and Tesla.
And then looking here at Alphabet, you can see that in between 2013 and 2017, they've been staying in that kind of similar range between 4.5 and about 6. So comparing that to the technology sector average, we are highly outperforming them, but comparing it to our direct competitor, Facebook, we are underperforming. So just in terms of amount of current assets compared to our current liabilities, we're kind of in between our direct competitor and the industry average.
Return on equity analysis starting with Tesla. Tesla has seen a negative increase as far as net income. Tesla's negative net income over the last 5 years, and the biggest years to call out are 2014 and 2017. Those years you can see the huge drop compared to the years prior, and this is caused due to the drop in net income. If we take a look at GM, they're doing better in this sense, but they also do see a drop in 2017.
So looking at Alphabet, between 2013 and 2016, we saw them stay at a pretty average level, right there in the 14% range. And then in 2017, we saw that take a pretty big drop. We would attribute that to the drop in net income that we also saw that affected some of our other ratios or previously. So comparing that to Facebook, we are underperforming compared to them. They have seen much higher numbers in terms of their ROE. So we're hoping to see Alphabet really change that around in 2018.
Forecasting the income statement, starting with Tesla. Tesla's revenue is projected to grow 80% year over year, according to analysts. We feel that is a little bit too steep. We're thinking about 72% at $20.2 billion. From 2013 to 2017, Tesla saw an average increase over those years of 64%. So we feel 72% is fair. Gross profit will follow very similar line. Looking at selling, general, and administrative costs, that's one that we want to focus on because Tesla has been trying to increase their capacity to fulfill orders of the Model 3. So they're increasing facilities, they're increasing marketing, they're increasing many different aspects within selling, general, and administrative costs. So we'll see that increase slightly. But ultimately, if we look at net income, Elon Musk is on a mission to make the business profitable, and net income is projected to increase significantly year over year compared to 2017.
Awesome. So looking here at Alphabet, with the total revenue, we had experts predicting that at about the 23% range for total sales growth. But we thought that was a little steep. We felt that comparing it to the previous year's data, we thought 21 was a more fair estimate, which will bring us in here at the $134 billion mark in total revenue. Looking at our gross profit, based on the cost of revenue and all those different aspects, we're thinking that'll come in right at around the 60% mark at around that just under $80 billion. Again, with operating income, we see that kind of similar trend continuing where experts are predicting a little high and we're basing it more off of our previous year's data. And then here at the bottom at net income, we want to see that continue the trend upward. In 2017, we saw a pretty steep downfall. So we'd like to see that kind of get back up to where it was. We'll see that at about 16% of total revenue, coming in at around $20 billion for 2018.
Yeah, forecasted earnings per share for Tesla, we're on a steady downcline, but as we've seen in the previous slides, Tesla as a whole is trying to become more profitable, and so net income is also going to follow the same path, impacting earnings per share forecasted in the same way.
And then looking at Alphabet, we predict, because of our projected net income for 2018, that we'll hit that 30 mark at the earnings per share, trying to get back on trend there.
Hi, my name is Rachel, and I am in charge of talking about the accounting policies and procedures. So when we were able to analyze the financial statements of both Tesla and Alphabet, we were able to find that Tesla uses the revenue recognition policy of once they do the work or send the title to the customer, then they can recognize that revenue, even if that means that they don't actually have the cash from that sale. As long as they did the work, they get the revenue. Alphabet is the same way. They recognize revenue once they transfer those goods to that customer. Again, it doesn't matter if they have the actual money from that sale yet. As long as they have done the work, they can recognize that revenue. For the inventory valuation, both companies used FIFO, which is first in, first out. And the importance of FIFO is because when you use FIFO, you are using your inventory that has the highest value first, which increases your cost of goods sold, which in turn decreases your net income, which hopefully in theory decreases the taxes you will get on that net income. So most likely the reason that the companies use these inventory valuations is so that they will get a tax break. The allowance for bad debt was a little trickier to just understand, mostly because neither of these companies would just come outright and say, this is our exact percentage of our allowance for bad debt. And so I thought, well, maybe I can calculate it just because I know it's supposed to be connected to the accounts receivable. So maybe if I can calculate it that way, I can find the percentage. But when we went to look at the income and balance sheets, there was no explicit allowance for doubtful accounts in that. And so the closest thing we could find was accounts payable and accrued liabilities, which isn't exactly the definition of a bad debt. And so what we were able to find is both companies have a section in their explanations underneath all the calculations saying that we do have a percentage. We do set that apart every year based off historical evidence and things that we think will happen this year. So we can assume that they have that. We just don't necessarily know the exact percentage. Another thing that neither of these companies currently have any off-balance sheet debt. They both address this issue in another explanation, saying that at this time, neither of them have that debt.
Now looking at those revenue values split up by both product and country, what we notice is that Tesla splits up, they segment into both an automotive segment and then an energy generation and storage segment, but before 2015 they were actually lumped together into one. We note that this is actually everything from high-level design all the way to, say, like transaction and any post-transaction, more transactions that are going to occur. Tesla splits up by country into the United States, China, Norway, and other, but the United States contributes 53% of all of those revenue values. Over on the product side, we're going to see that that automotive segment contributes 91%, the vast majority of the revenue that is going to be created by Tesla. Moving over to Alphabet, they actually don't segment because they only have the Google product segment that meets the threshold limits to be considered. So what they do is they have a segment called Google and then one called Other Bets, which is just really everything else. By country, they split up into the United States, Europe and the Middle East and Africa, Asia Pacifica, and Canada and Latin America. Now, we also notice again that the United States is going to contribute 47% of that, so the vast majority. And then, because it only meets quantifiable thresholds, Google is going to be the 99% of all of that revenue. Now here's for executive compensation.
So hopping right here back into executive compensation, looking at Alphabet's compensation, their CEO, Larry Page, receives a compensation of $1 per year, which sounds a little silly at first, but his entire compensation is actually tied to the stock price. So when the company is doing well, he's doing well and vice versa. So looking at some of their competitors, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg receives a $9 million compensation annually, and then Apple CEO Tim Cook receives about a $13 million compensation annually. So hopping right over to Tesla.
Tesla's founder and CEO, Elon Musk, has a base rate salary of about $49,000. But after further research, he actually defers this salary payment. I guess it pays to be the boss. There is a plan in 2018 for executive compensation, but it hasn't been rolled out yet. Looking at their competitors, Tesla's CEO is definitely underpaid. Mary T. Barra has a base rate pay of $2.1 million, and total compensation is $22 million. And Akita Toyota has a compensation of $2.8 million in salary.
And now to just tie all this information together and make a final accounting decision on which company to invest in, we have the following reasons as to why we have decided to invest in Alphabet other than Tesla. The reasons that we'd like to invest in Alphabet is because they have demonstrated consistent stability over the last 5 years. They have demonstrated that they are capable of growth, as well as they have provided positive net income numbers over the last 5 years. So just to delve a little deeper into that, with all of the ratios that we have provided, Alphabet is always consistently doing better than Tesla. So they always bring back a higher percentage of their equity versus their debt. They have a higher earnings per share than Tesla does, as well as they have a higher return on equity than Tesla does, which was mentioned earlier. With all of the graphs that we have provided, Alphabet is consistently moving up and to the right, which is what we want to see. They're growing as well as making more profits while they're doing that. And again, they have demonstrated they have a positive net income over the last 5 years, where Tesla does not. And even in our forecasted income statement, we have determined that Alphabet will have a positive net income and Tesla will not. And it is for these reasons, the consistent stability, the growth, and the positive net income, that we believe it is a better choice to invest in Alphabet than it is to invest in Tesla. Thank you.